So welcome to the OpenJ9 community call. If you haven't already, please add your name to the minutes, which you can find on the Slack channel and the OpenJ9 Slack in the planning channel. So today we were supposed to have a lightning talk by Alex about metronome, but he wasn't able to do it today, so we'll have to postpone. I've tentatively put it in for May 9th. But I'll have to confirm with him, and I'll update the agenda after the fact and try to pin down a date when he can do it for sure. So before we get into the agenda, are there any questions from anyone? Anything that anyone wants to discuss?
Peter, I think, oh, this somehow got, yeah. I think the metronome topic is so interesting, well, especially for me, that could we possibly maybe move that to the next meeting after the 9th? Because at the 9th, I'm actually speaking in Barcelona at the RISC-V conference about J9, and will not be able to attend.
Yeah, I just put the 9th because that was the next date when we didn't have anybody scheduled. So I can put it down as the 16th. I still need to check with Alex and make sure he can do it.
Thank you.
I'll update the minutes, and I can check with you on Slack to see if you're available. Given you're the only non-IBM person attending this call. Although we are going to record the call and put it on YouTube, so it will be available for everyone to see. So, Irina, did you have a report on the number of issues?
Yeah, so 1 second to get my, so I put there like a summary. I ran all the queries, and I tried to look for trends. So basically for the issues, we have a similar number. We do have an increased number of PRs, and we have a corresponding link to increased number in work in progress PRs. So basically, if you ask me, that just shows that we are working on more things. Test failures is stationary. For the JEPs, someone went and cleaned the JDK9s so we are down 8. For components, we have a bit of growth in the JIT and the VM, and correspond in the issues. That would be the issues, and the growth in the PRs being solved as well. So I think that's good. The PR being solved growth is good. The other components are GC stationary. The docs, there is a bit of growth in docs, but then it's the number is from 6 to 10. And there is a small growth in build test and user raised issues. So that would be the trends. I still have a to-do to find an automatic way to print this nicely. That's all I had. Any questions?
No questions. I guess we'll have to keep an eye on the pull requests. Hopefully it's going to shrink again. If it stays high, that could be a problem. Not including the work in progress ones. Okay. So the number you have for PR is 74. That includes the work in progress?
Sorry, the PR 74, let me see. Yes, that includes the work in progress. And if you look at the work in progress, we have 36. So basically we went 59 to 74, that's 15. And then the work in progress also went from, the work in progress just went up by 7. So yeah, it's...
yeah, so we're up a few, but hopefully those will all get merged and we'll be back down again.
Yeah.
Do we know which of these are must-dos for the upcoming 0.9 release?
So we do have a milestone for 0.9 that has some PRs or issues tagged against it.
I'm wondering whether Yeah, how is that basically the gate for the fixing of those PRs? Is that the date gate for the creation of that release? Because we're keen to get updates out at Adopt OpenJDK for the latest quarterly update, and that's touted to be merged with this 0.9 release when it's ready.
So we have some Eclipse paperwork to do. We have to create a 0.9 release at Eclipse. I think we have to put it out for review for 2 weeks, and then we have to get it approved by the Eclipse board before we can officially have a 0.9 release. So we're probably a bit behind doing that. We'll have to jump on that soon and make sure that all gets done, because I think the Eclipse board only meets twice a month, so we don't want to miss their date, because then we'll be way off for our release.
Right, so generally the incorporation of an updated OpenJ9 at Adopt OpenJDK is gated on both the list of features or fixes that we want to put in it and this Eclipse release process.
Yeah, so, and we also have to do the the IBM paperwork to update Java 8 with the latest update, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I can't talk and click at the same time, so I was trying to find the milestone. Yeah, okay, so under the release 0.9 milestone, we have just a question about what the focus areas are going to be for 0.9, enabling DDR support for OpenJ9. So it is enabled for the Linux platforms. The code is in there for Windows, but Windows isn't actually turned on yet. So I guess we should get that turned on. Intermittent failures, compiling JDK 10 on AIX. It'd be nice to get that resolved. Creating a large heap, so a non-compressed refs build. We have somebody looking at that. Having a unique ID, getting the unique ID fixed for extra classes, which is in the backlog right now, and updating the shared class size to be bigger. And then we're also looking at fixing JCK tests, but I guess that's not something we really talk about in the open. So if there's any other issues that people think should be in the list for 0.9, please call them out. I know, so one of the things Philippe mentioned in the release focus areas was turning on string compression. So JNI performance, JProfiling enablement, string compression, compile time performance. I'm not sure where we are with all these things. Not sure that JNI performance is going to make 0.9. I have seen some JProfiling PRs go by, but I'll have to check with Philippe to see if that's done. String compression, I know he's looking at getting that enabled very soon, so hopefully next week. And compile time performance, I'm not sure. So we'll have to get an update to see where we are with this list.
I was looking earlier at the list of issues that we documented for the 0.8 release notes and wondering which of those might be fixed in the 0.9 release. So I don't know whether anyone's got their eye on that as well.
Oh yeah, the other thing was the signal handling. So there is a pull request out at OMR and for OpenJ9 to get the signal handling working. That's one of the things that was on the list. So we need to get that OMR code delivered, and then we should have signal handling for Linux platform at least, and then hopefully Windows would come next. I'm hoping we can have both those platforms working for the 0.9 release. Just going by memory, the other thing was compressed references. So we've got somebody looking at that to create the plan is to create a separate build that would not use compressor references, so it'd be a full 64-bit build. We'd probably just create that for Linux, but then we'd also need OpenJDK or adopt OpenJDK to have a separate build for non-compressor S for OpenJ9. So I'm not sure where we're at with that. I mean, first we have to create an OpenJ9 build that works. Was there anything else? There's a bunch of testing things on the release notes. I could try and find them.
Yeah, there were some missing extensions and some extensions that were unsupported. I don't know if we've made any headway on those.
I'm thinking not. Where do we put the release notes? Doc?
They are in the doc directory under release notes.
A direct dump reader, like I said, working on Linux, hopefully working on Windows shortly. GPU support. So that is still a problem. Not that adopt builds with GPU support enabled anyways, so it's something I'm going to try and push on. See if adopt can install the CUDA toolkit when they're doing builds and turn on GPU support so that the builds from adopt can have GPU enabled.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Shelley, do you know if there's an issue for that as adopt off the top of your head?
I'm not aware of one. But I can create one. I'll check right now.
Yeah, so we were trying to figure out what the blockers were for doing this. There might be a licensing issue.
Right.
I was hoping to chat with Tim about it tomorrow, and then if the right thing to do is open an issue, then I can do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I'll leave it to you then. Yeah. And I guess the implication there is we have CUDA, functional CUDA tests that we should be migrating if that is in the list. Those haven't been migrated.
Okay, so I guess that would be a factor, testing it.
Yeah.
So maybe not something that is possible for 09.
Yeah, what's the date we're targeting again for that? Is that end of May? No.
I think it should be earlier than the end of May, but it's going to depend on doing the 09 release plan with Eclipse and getting it approved.
Right. Okay.
So Jonathan did it last time, so we have to figure out how it works and go through the right process. Because Jonathan's not around anymore to do it. Yeah, so the OpenJ9 extensions, that's not fixed. I don't think anybody's looking at it. That's the JavaDoc thing. So it's updating the JavaDoc build to contain the OpenJ9 code. Yeah, nobody's been looking at that. And similarly, I don't think anybody's been looking at removing the unsupported extensions. Those are things like JStack, JPS. Although it wouldn't be hard to fix. I don't know, Simon, is that something that somebody on your side could take a look at? Is just getting rid of those extensions from the build until such time as they work? Because right now they don't work, so it might be confusing for people to find them there and try to use them.
I don't know. Sorry, what's the issue? Removing the documentation about them?
It's not removing the documentation. It's, well, I guess there's two issues. One is there is some documentation to remove about OpenJDK management extensions, but there's also some executables that are included in the builds JStack, JPS, JCommand. For Java 9, we removed them from the build, but for Java 8, they're still part of the build. And so you get these executables that are there, but if you try to run them, they don't work on OpenJ9.
Ah, I see.
There is
so there are things that only work with Hotswap, is that correct?
That's correct.
Right, I see.
There is an issue, so after the call, I'll dig it up and send it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, just looking through the agenda, there's a machines section, but I don't know anything about the machines, and I don't think there's anybody on the call who does. End user items. There's probably a few that we should be taking some action on. I think we got pinged about the automating build instruction using Ansible. But it's not on the call. Funny. JIT inlining verbose option doesn't work well with multiple compilation threads. Since Mark raised it, maybe he'll be looking at it. Help wanted, so.
Yeah, he raised that quite recently, actually. We're writing an article at the moment to support the demo he did last week. And in that demo, he was using that option in order to make it clear in the output, or make the output clearer to follow. So he decided that's something they really should fix to improve the verbose log. So he created that. I don't know whether he's intending on working on that straight away or waiting for someone else to pick it up.
Yeah, he's tagged it as help wanted, so I guess that implies that nobody's going to be jumping on that right away.
Yeah.
There's one about attach API not working as expected in Docker. So we've got our attach API expert taking a look at that, and we'll have to come back with some comments there. Assertion failed while launching a Liberty app using xdump dynamic. Some kind of an assert, so that might be a pre-existing problem. Those are the most recent ones. What else? It seems like we've resolved the WordPress versus Jekyll. Shelley was going to purchase the WordPress license.
Yeah, and I guess the question I have right now, I'll create a few people as admins, and then we can decide how we roll out the, developers who have content should become either contributors or authors. There's different roles you can assign to people depending on what level of control you want them to have. So I'll just kind of probably follow the committer list as a guide to say OpenJ9 committers are editors. That lets them touch all of the blog posts. There'll be a few admins. So right now the blog is up, but I haven't made the change in the openj9.org side to have a blog.openj9.org redirect to the WordPress blog. So that's the last part of what I'll do. So I was targeting to send out some details to people by the end of this week.
We found, Shelley, that author is one of the better roles to give people. If you give people editor, they can write a blog. If you want other people to review them, you have to be an author in order to be able to see the private articles.
Okay, so that's great. We can use the editor role for contributors. And I guess the other thing is at Adopt, what we do, we had kind of leads. They gave admin permissions, but that lets you really control everything. That might be overkill for most people, but it is handy to have several, at least a few admins, because that allows those people will invite others to become editors and can remove people if they need to from the list.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have people in different time zones as well.
Yes,
so people
so
aren't waiting on others.
Right, and so I was looking at you, Sue.
Yeah, that's fine.
As one, and maybe on this end, Pete or Dan or both, and myself, and that should be enough for now. I'll.
Have you chosen a theme for the site?
No, not at all. But we have access to all the premium ones, so maybe we could work together. The other part of this will be then once we have it redirecting to the URL blog.openj9.org, how do you integrate that into the website so that it can take people, view people? So I presume you'll want an open issue for that integration part.
Yeah.
Either way, it doesn't stop us from starting to put content.
Sure.
Yeah.
Got one ready for you now, actually.
Oh, great. Okay, well, I better hustle and get you on as an admin then. All right, good.
Did anyone have comments about the wiki? There's an issue, but I see it hasn't been touched since the last call.
I think I was thinking about using the wiki certainly on the website for process information, and that there was some concern about access control. But if we're only putting process information up there, and we're not putting any secrets like passwords or anything, then I don't think that's an issue. Someone else, however, was thinking of using it as a kind of Q&A for developers and contributors, because things get lost in the Slack channel quite easily as time progresses. I had some concerns about that because you can get quite a quick proliferation of content that gets stale and outdated. And I'm not sure how well the wiki would serve for that kind of thing. I don't think the discussions really come to any conclusion at the moment.
Yeah, it seems like it would be hard to decide whether you put something in the docs folder or you put something on the wiki. Maybe you tend to go with what's easiest.
Yeah, I think we need to kind of lay out a clear strategy for where things are. Otherwise, you end up not being able to find anything. And I think we already need a little bit of reorganisation and sorting out now. But if we start using the wiki as well for Q&A, then we could very quickly descend into chaos.
It does make sense to capture some of that information from Slack because since we're using the free Slack, we only have so much history.
Absolutely, I agree. We will very soon have some user documentation hosted online. I'm just waiting on Adam Brousseau to help finish some of the Jenkins work. Then we will have a live user documentation site, and I think we can very quickly start curating content there, and everyone collectively can contribute to that.
So you think that would be a good place to have an FAQ or a Q&A?
In a form, yes. I mean, I think we need to probably have more discussion about how we organise that site. At the moment, it's just a sort of a command reference, and we need to sort of build it out a bit. So perhaps we'd have different areas on there for JITs or GC, and we can somehow organise it so that we can start bringing in some of that useful information that's going into the Slack channel and making sure it's available to everybody in an easy to find form. Yeah, the site will just use markdown files, which most people are familiar with writing, and it's quite easy to build into the solution that we're using. I'll come to the call with more on that when we've actually got the thing live. So we're just waiting on a couple of Jenkins jobs and we're nearly there.
But you expect that to happen before the next release?
I hope so, yes. I hope it's going to happen within the next week.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to have some user documentation up.
Yeah. I mean, it's taken a while to get through the Eclipse processes and their IP processes, but it's now there in a repository in GitHub. We just need to run the jobs that will actually build that documentation into online content, and that will get hosted at the existing website in a subdirectory. So it should all tie together quite nicely.
Okay, is there anything else that people want to talk about for the 09 release? We covered a bunch of that already. We're hoping to have some Windows machines running nightly testing at OpenJ9 soon. Windows should be in good shape. AIX should be in good shape. We're not going to have a Mac build, not for this release, and I don't think we'll have an ARM build either. Okay, I'm going to skip over the how to advertise the call section and any other business. Does anybody have any other business?
Not today, thanks.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Peter.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Goodbye.